Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Texans Probe. Today, of course, we're back with Drew. Today, we're going to kind of discuss some of what I've seen throughout training camp today, or not today, obviously, but the last week or so. It's been a busy one. I've gone to essentially all of the training camps, so
Yeah.
it's been a pretty. I've gone all the open ones, so I've been pretty busy with this. I've been documenting this, kind of keeping notes of stuff for us to discuss. Carlos Correa just got traded to the Astros, by the way.
Oh my God.
Just
Okay.
kind of pop at
Wow.
the beginning of the probe. That's pretty funny. Um,
Wow. Okay.
that is well, that's funny. All
Yeah.
right, well, I guess we'll if anyone comes in here talking about that, I don't really follow baseball that closely, so
Yeah.
but that's pretty funny. Okay, back on track with the Texans, bro. Um, so today we're going to kind of discuss some of training camp and what we've seen. Some standout players, some of the offensive line configurations. Which, Drew, you were at the very first day of
Yeah.
pads. You saw the offensive line kind of come together, and it stayed the same.
Exactly.
They figured out 4 of the 5. It seems like center's still up for grabs, though. Center is absolutely up for
That's what it
grabs.
seems like. But
But I
yeah.
do, this is something that maybe it's just kind of me. I do think there's a favorite at the center spot. There's a guy that's kind of in the lead currently from what I've seen, but it's still an open spot for sure. So, Drew, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about kind of what you've seen from camp? I know you've only been to one, but maybe some
Right.
reports as well. What are you
Right.
thinking so far?
So when I was there, there was really 3 main standouts. One was Kalen Bullock, which I think has
Yep.
stayed true. It was before I went, and then after I went, he was still standing out. The other guy was Ursery because Ursery, I tried to watch as many reps as possible. They didn't do one-on-ones or anything, but just in the regular team situations, he looked fine, looked stable. And then when he was in with the third team is when he started just absolutely dominating dudes, the Josh Simmons clips of him dominating. It was very kind of felt similar to that. And then also I would say Jalen Noel because he had a
Yep.
long,
He had a very good day. The day that me and
the
you
day
were
I
there.
was there, he had
That
a
was
deep catch.
yeah.
He had a slant and then a spin move off of the slant. So that just kind of goes to show he's a multi-tool guy. And then he separated, on one man coverage beater. So he kind of had all the tools, flash in front of my eyes, which is great because I think a lot of people just assume that Jalen Noel is a speedster. No, you could even make an argument that he is a more refined route runner than Higgins.
Yeah, he is.
When
To
you're
me, he
watching
absolutely
Iowa
is.
State game, you could absolutely make that case, especially once you get to the deep and intermediate level. It kind of felt like, and also some very short routes. He was quick and controlled, and he also has long speed. So from a route running standpoint, he has everything you want. And I think that's great. And I also you've noted that Christian Kirk has just kind of been that really stable guy
Yeah,
throughout training
he
camp, really
has.
stable target, and he'll be that. He will probably be that in the regular season, which is it's just kind of crazy that the Texans have 4 legit wide receivers, and then they have 3 legit wide receivers, and they have a superstar wide receiver.
Yep.
Not many teams can say that, and I couldn't even imagine that after Tank Dell had gotten hurt. I never thought that was possible. I thought I thought they
Yeah.
were going to be absolutely depleted at receiver because they were going to be desperate to get offensive linemen. Maybe they would swing on an interior defense lineman. They didn't do that. They didn't draft a center, and which goes to the next thing of now we're talking about a very very under the radar signing of simply a player that Popovich and Caley knew from New England, and Jake Andrews is someone as a potential starter.
Yep. Yeah, Jake Andrews, I was going to get into this offensive line talk, and I'm pretty sure that's the first thing we're going to talk about. But to me, Jake Andrews is kind of in the lead to be the starting center. And this is something I tweeted for everyone that's kind of coming in from X. I see Chase, what's up, my guy. But so for me, Jake Andrews, whether it's fair to them or not, I've just noticed that when Jake Andrews is at center, when they do team, it just looks better when Jake Andrews is in there. Whether it's him or it's like the tackles are just getting beat at
Okay.
a certain time. I don't really know for sure if there's if that's a thing or if it's just something that I'm kind of thinking. But whenever he seems to be in, the line just seems to play as a unit better to me. I think they run the ball a little bit better when he's in as well. Not that the run games look good either way. the only running back that's looked good, which I'll get into camp standouts really, is Jawar Jordan. Like he's had a really, really strong camp. But as a whole, I just think Jake Andrews has kind of brought something that they didn't really have at the center spot and they haven't had. And I think he's in the lead right now. The last 2 days, actually. So yesterday and Tuesday, he came out with the first team. Monday, it was Jared Patterson.
Right, because it was Jared Patterson for me.
And they've kind of rotated. So, team one, it was Andrews, and then team two with Patterson. But both days, the first group has been with Andrews the last two. So I would lean on him being kind of the favorite. I think he's gotten most of the time. But they have definitely gotten a rotation in there as well. Because I want to say yesterday, yesterday was a win for the defense. The defense had a really good day yesterday. But I thought the offense had one really good. They had one really good series, and it was they went team one, team two. It wasn't great. They came over. They came back. Team three, which Andrews was at center, was easily their best series because it was a full series. So they started at the 35 like a touchback. And so they're essentially playing to get in field goal range. They didn't play like the whole drive out. So what happened was I can kind of go play by play on it. So play one, it was like a Nick Chubb run for 2 yards.
Shocker.
Yeah. And then, play two, they throw a quick out to Brevin. I didn't really know if he caught it or not. Like CJ kind of hit him pretty good. But it was either way, it's like a gain of 2 or 3. So they set up like a 3rd and 6. They hit, and then CJ hits it was a really nice ball, kind of back shoulder to Nico up the sideline. So it was about 25 yards on that one. It was a really nice throw. That was kind of their first big connection of camp. But like I said, that was something I tweeted, is that really throughout camp, they've kind of been really focusing on the quick hitters, the short. And then yesterday, when they got into more of the full, intense team stuff, they really started trying to hit Nico over top. That was kind of where he got involved, really. Obviously, the Texans posted a clip of Caley making the PBU on that play. So they kind of hit the deep ball a little bit more, though. But again, this drive, the offensive line did pretty well for themselves in pass pro as well. So I want to say then they go – I posted the whole drive. So let me check that because I don't remember it exactly off memory, exactly how it went. So let me check that out. Love that we're going more quick game. Yeah, the Texans are definitely prioritizing quick game. Drew, you saw that when you were there, too. It was a lot of quick game.
I think that's kind of because they weren't really checking it. Even Stroud, I thought he wasn't checking the ball down as much as he should have last season. And I think if you want to be a team that just really punishes a defense, you're running the ball, you're checking it down, and then you hit your play action shots, which we'll talk about more later.
Yeah. So I have the full thing pulled up. So after you get this back shoulder ball, so they give it again to Nick Chubb. He gets 0. He gets nothing. Then they hit Christian Kirk for 9. So it was a nice little over the middle curl route. He just kind of stopped. He just found the soft spot in his zone right there. It was nice. I thought he honestly probably could have broken a tackle and gotten 12 or 13. There was a couple times offensively that I thought they kind of did these guys a little bit short on how many yards they would have gotten. But I think they were almost trying to see more of the offense, so they were kind of cool with doing that. And then so obviously it ends up being a 3rd and 1. They're kind of playing it as okay. It was a situation where, like I said, they were trying to get into field goal range. There wasn't a
drill type thing.
They didn't have the clock set up from what I saw, but you could kind of tell that's what they were trying to do. So everyone's kind of thinking 3rd and 1, they're going to run the ball. They hit a nice little boot. Cade, he kind of fakes like he's going to block the outside, slips out. He gets 6 or 7 and a first down, and then Fairbairn comes out, drills the field goal. So it was a really nice drive for the offense.
And Jake Andrews was in.
Jake Andrews was in at this time, yeah. And then I can go through Team 4 as well, because Team 4, they got a couple different ones, but there was what they did was, which I thought was kind of stupid. They kind of there's a very obvious sack that they called like a 7-yard gain for Stroud that he very obviously would have gotten sacked on. But as a whole, so there was there ended up being the 4th and 1 after that. Stingley made an awesome play on that, and then they reset the downs, so they just let them go again offensively. But the first set, so I have the entire first set. So Nico Collins screen for 2, which again, this one, I thought the screen could have gone for a little bit more if they were letting him break tackles, but they kind of got called him short. It was kind of something I'm saying. And then you get CJ Stroud scramble for 8. I swear he would have gotten 20 on this. Nobody was even near him and they called it down. I think they were just trying to play situational, but CJ did a really good job with his legs yesterday, making plays. There was multiple times outside of this where he would get 7 or 8, go for a first down and then just go out of bounds, which is something that, if he could add to his game, that really elevates his ceiling. of what he can bring. And
He's,
then
he's fast. I really
he's
think
pretty
he's got
fast.
some speed. Yeah.
So then you get a false start on 1st and 10. It was one of the tackles. I couldn't tell which one it was, but I'm pretty confident it was Ursay or Robinson. Then you get a CJ scramble for 7 again, so you put yourself in 2nd and 8. There was an
Now,
incompletion.
how close were these scrambles to being sacks?
None of them were all that
No,
close.
okay. It was just
The
kind of
only
he saw
one
the
that was close is the
space.
one I'm going to get to, where he got 7 on 3rd down, which was the most obvious. Like, Petrie came in unblocked on a DB blitz. Like, literally nobody picked him up. So
Yeah.
that would have been 100% a sack. But these early ones, I don't think were sacks. I think he just got out of it. He did a pretty good job moving in the pocket as a whole. Because there were a couple plays where I'm like, maybe he gets sacked, but I thought he did a pretty good job of maneuvering the pocket as a whole. So that was something that I thought he looked better on than he did last year, because that's something we kind of talked about. He could have done a better job moving in the pocket still, moving up. Also, good credit to the interior offensive line for being able to move up in the pocket when the tackles were getting beat. So credit to them as well. But so the first few scrambles I thought were just plays that he did a good job moving in the pocket. And then you get incompletion off Watson's hands. It was a tough catch. He's kind of diving to the sideline. But it was a pretty good throw as well, I thought. I thought CJ put it in a good spot, especially in a 2-minute drill where you're trying to get out of bounds. It was essentially like Watson was going to catch it and get out of bounds, or it was going to be incomplete. So that's kind of what you want in that spot anyways.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the throw. I thought it was a pretty good throw. It hit him in the hands, like I said. Tough play, but hit you in your hands. I'm sure Watson would tell you he probably should have brought that one in.
Yeah.
And if it's a guy like Jaden Higgins and he's 6'4", which you're thinking first team offense, that's probably who it's going to be. Probably makes that catch. So you get the 3rd down. So this would be a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Jalen Petrie comes unblocked. This would have been a sack, but they let CJ get 7 on the scramble. So they set up a 4th and 1, and then I posted the clip. It was a Derek Stingley PBU on a crosser from Nico. It was a very, very. It was a very, really, very, very good play from Stingley. You couldn't have thrown the ball a whole lot better. It was a pretty good throw. It wasn't behind Nico or anything, and Nico kind of had a step. The one thing you could have said is Stroud maybe should have floated it more, like gotten it over the defense, but I didn't really know if there was a linebacker or something there.
Right.
Just one of those where, like, you just tip your cap to Stingley. Like, he made a hell of a play. He's going to make he's one of the best corners in football. He's going to do that.
Exactly.
But I thought the team looked a little bit better. Like, CJ looked pretty under control as a whole, even when there was pressure, which is a big thing. He did a good job, maneuvering pockets. So, like I said, I think if you were scoring the 3 padded days, you would probably lean it's almost 1-1-1. I think Tuesday was essentially a draw. Like, they were both pretty close. If there was one I had to give it to, I'd say offense won the day. So offense could have won 2 days really, but they kind of got down. They kind of got beat on Wednesday. It happens. But going off of that, we can talk about offensive line. So I'm sure people have heard about it already. I've been talking about it, but really 4 of the line spots are pretty set.
I agree.
Drew, when we were there on Monday, we were kind of paying attention to it. It was the first day with pads, and the 4 guys have stayed the same. There's been no rotation at all. They've been the exact same guys. I'm gonna move. Hold on. I'm gonna move the Texans Probe logo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Loki.
Yeah. I didn't think about that one.
So we'll get to that in a second, Steve.
So we are. So we were there and we're watching the offensive line. We're waiting for him to come over. And so, I was thinking, okay, Ursay's playing with the first team. That's cool to see, but they're probably going to put Fisher in at some point. Fisher hasn't taken a single first team snap since Saturday. That's the last time he took a first team snap, and he was getting beat pretty consistently on Saturday.
And that's the problem. Like, if you're getting beat every single snap, like, they can't run their offense they can't script plays and do anything if Will Anderson is screaming in the quarterback's face because the left tackle or right tackle can't hold up. So unfortunately for you, Blake Fisher, you have been taken out because you're essentially disrupting practice by not being able to even hold up in the slightest bit. So he had to be.
Yeah, he looked really bad in those. But and I've tweeted about it. I think he deserves credit because I think he's been pretty good the last couple of days in pass pro. Like, and granted, he's working against
but it's about who he's going up against. Unfortunately, I think that's the.
But I do think some of those guys have good pass rush juice. So
that's true. Yeah, I mean, we like Bird, we like Taylor.
Like, give him credit. He's done a good job. Like, he's definitely looked better. But he's not going to be a starter on this team more than likely. He'll probably start some games because I think he's going to be the swing tackle essentially. And I'm not super sold on Cam Robinson. I thought he started camp well, but he's kind of had some days lately. Which, I mean, granted, he's working against Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter all the time, so it happens.
Yeah.
I'm not going to overreact to that, but
This is good practice for him, though.
it definitely is. I just think that, you know, Fisher is going to end up playing some games more than likely. But the biggest thing is Ariante Ursary has been out there with the first team the whole time. I mean, literally the entire time, and he's held his own. You know, he's had some bad reps, but he's had some really good reps. He's looked to part. He's looked like he fits in that group, which is a pretty big deal because, like I said, he's working against some insane pass rushers from that group. Even, like I said, even when Will Anderson's not in, you're working against Darrell Taylor. You're working against Solomon Burke. You're working against these guys. I mean, these guys have some real juice. So there's definitely something there with Ariante Ursary. He's looked good. The interior has been pretty good as a whole. Like I said, I think Jake Andrews has made the line look a little bit better when he's in. But yeah, so like, what were some of your thoughts when you were there on Monday? What did you think about the offensive line?
Yeah, I really, like I said, I thought Ursary was good. I didn't have any issues whatsoever with Cam Robinson. The interior offensive line appeared to hold up most of the time, which, people can, try to hate on the Texans' interior defensive line as much as you want, but that's probably a little bit inaccurate, especially from a pass rushing perspective. They can all rush the passer, that's for sure. Some of them, I'll say Sheldon Rankins, I don't believe can really stop the run, but outside of that, even Mario Edwards was stuffing the run last year at times. So that's really good competition, and those guys are kind of all on the same level. Like if you have, we're talking about Madden ratings or tiers of players, like Laken Tomlinson, Jarrett Patterson, they're kind of in the same category of a type of player of Mario Edwards, Tim Settle, and they kind of won their battles essentially, I would say, especially the day that I was there. I don't think there was any interior pressure.
There hasn't been much.
Even like Jalen Thomas wasn't allowing really anything as well. I mean, I don't think Jake Andrews really allowed much pass rushing pressure. From what I saw, it was a little hard to see the interior offensive line. I will admit that. But when there's pressure, and there didn't seem to be pressure, so that tells you some things there. And if Jake Andrews figures out the pass protection, he's a naturally good run blocker who, by the way, has a little bit of natural leverage from being a shorter guy. He's got a lot of mass and muscle and power to him because of his build. So he's going to be a good run blocker. But now obviously he hasn't had the opportunity. But that the type of player that he is, and even the tape that he had in college, like going to be a good run blocker. So when he figures pass protection out, or if he's just a good communicator, he's a very aware player, he's going to be just fine in terms of pass protection. And I think that's why Jarrett Patterson is just never going to become an elite run blocker. That's just not going to happen. And I think the Texans know that. I think that's why you're seeing a lot of Jake Andrews reps. And that's important. And then Laken Tomlinson, he's going to start. There's really, but Jalen Thomas, obviously there's some upside there, especially as a run blocker. And so really for him, a young player, it's about figuring out the pass protection. And then it's a big year for him if he does play, because then the Texans are going to have to decide, are we going to spend one of our, 6 of the first 100 picks or whatever the heck it might be?
They're going to have a lot of high picks,
They're going to have the easy assets to draft offensive linemen, but these guys can earn a spot on the roster for 2026, and the Texans can save draft assets, use it on other players and whatnot. So it's really big for these young offensive linemen to all figure it out, and it looks like everyone outside of Blake Fisher has done that.
Yep, and another point that I can bring up, Juice Scruggs has been with the second team a little bit, so he's not completely out of this mix either. For a guy that, if one of these guys does go down, he could step in somewhere. So he's not completely out of this mix either. He stepped in a little bit more. I think he's better than Ed Ingram. So I
right, and then we completely forgot about Ed Ingram because you just haven't.
Yeah, he's been mainly the second team right guard, but then Juice is kind of filled in there. I would rather have Juice. I think there's more versatility, there's more upside, so I would pick him over Ed Ingram if I was like making a 53 today.
That's right, because they're fighting for a roster spot. Like Ed Ingram could get cut, put on practice squad, or cut and picked up by another team. Same for Juice Scruggs. Like if they don't make the roster, they're probably gone.
Yeah. Juice is a guy that I think a team would potentially trade a day 3 pick for as well. cut down day. I think he hasn't been bad enough for a team to be like, man, we can't. Like, I think a team would take a shot because he hasn't been brutal when he's played. He's been okay.
When there's one of those guys that multiple teams may have had like a day 2 grade on, like the Texans. I'm assuming he had a day 2 grade on Juice Scruggs. I don't know why.
Yeah, they did because they took him.
They did, and they took him in the second round. You see trades like that, so that's definitely possible. And then you can probably answer this question better than me from Steve.
Got you. Yep. All right. Well, I am continuously checking my phone because the Astros are just doing everything right now. As soon as we booted up the stream, so if I'm on my phone, that's why. Because so they just traded for Jesus Sanchez, and now they're working hard to acquire Dylan Cease. I don't know what is going on, but what a trade deadline day. Okay, so what I can tell you about the sim pressures and stunts is it's very hard to tell when they're getting hit with them because I'm seeing it from a distance, like the interior. But there was one play specifically that I got on video, and it was Jake Andrews at center. And so he kind of saw it almost a little bit late, but I will give him credit because he basically just put his body on the line and he got trucked, but he also brought down the defensive tackle. So he protected it. It wasn't like smooth, you would want it to be a little bit better, but I will give him credit because he did see it. He just saw it later than, they didn't pick it up as well as you would kind of hope. But that is to be expected when it's July and they haven't played together. Like that's not something that, that it takes a little bit of time to pick up that kind of stuff, but it's been better. They haven't been beat by the same type of stuff as they were last year necessarily. But yeah, Andrews completely stepped in. He fell over, man. He got his ass kicked. But he took Settle or whoever was down with him. So he did his job. He did his job at the end of the day. So that's what I'm saying. I like what Andrews has brought, really. And I think he ends up being the starter. But we'll see. Jared Patterson's done some nice things as well.
I was thinking, how's this going to go? Are they going to try to, keep switching it up? To me, an NFL team wants to have the same 5 guys for every single game of the season. But this is a very, very, very close, or it would appear to be a very close, competition for the center spot, which
it is, yeah.
You don't normally really see. And center is a important position because, especially in the last offense, the communication that they have to bring to the table, the awareness that they have to have in terms of blitzes, and then also the upside that they might have to have, when run blocking. This is very, very important. So I'm curious to see if maybe the coaches talk about it in press conferences, or if one of them goes off in a preseason game and it's just glaringly obvious. Because I'm down to just watch a bunch of offensive line snaps, look at them and just who's better? Let's see. Because you can tell. You can definitely tell.
Yep. All right, Chase, I saw your comment. That's my Stingley jersey back here. I finally someone brought up my setup because I moved my setup around. So I got a signed Stingley jersey back here, and that's a signed Stroud jersey. So I'm gonna be moving out of the setup in a month though. So enjoy this one while it lasts. But I'll be back here so often. But yeah. I just thought that was funny. I wanted to bring that up. But so you said hopefully hopefully Caley has a better screen game than Slowick. I do wonder if it's going to be kind of tough to run effective screens because their offensive line is not as mobile as it used to be. They're a big line, so you're going to have to get a little bit more creative with it. But you have some of the best screen players in the league. You want to get a guy like Nico Collins and a guy like Jalen Knoll the ball in space. So they're going to find ways to do it.
There's definitely ways to do it other than dump and better ways to do it than simple dump passes. Just set the line of scrimmage to receivers, asking your offensive lineman to cover ground quickly. Last year didn't really work, and I think it should just be common sense to never ask these guys to cover ground very quickly. So that could be something that they build off of their play action game throughout the season, where you're faking the run, and then you're throwing the screen. You're getting your lineman into space because you had extra time from the handoffs, action, and stuff like that. And we'll see. Look, there's going to be games where their offense is going to be very, very, very simple, matchup based. They know they have advantages in certain spots. They don't even have to use motion, or they just want to run the quick game. Because the team is going to put their safeties 15 yards the fuck back and their corners 10 yards back. There's going to be games where that happens. And
Absolutely.
Fine when you have an offensive coordinator that is willing to adapt, and I think they have that here.
Yep, and so I actually, speaking of the adaptivity, we'll go into Nick Caley because I know he's in the title, and I wanted to talk about Nick Caley especially for some of the newer people that haven't really watched a lot of the Texans probe, because I know I gained so many followers from camp and stuff that probably haven't ever seen a Texans probe. So I hope y'all are enjoying that so far.
And we're glad that Jacob is our lead reporter for training camp.
I'm out there, man. I'm going back tomorrow and Saturday, so.
Yeah.
I actually, this is actually funny. So I was looking at going to West Virginia. I was going to make the trip if it was open to public, which it's not, unfortunately. But if it was, I was going to make the trip and go and get to see that. But
yeah,
unfortunately, it's not. So but I will be up. I'm going to be reporting on it. So still should be pretty fun. Okay, so we can look into some of the offensive schematics. So today, actually, I was watching. So Brett Coleman did a kind of a video on the Texans last season, and I was watching that. And I'm going to get into kind of the Rams personnel, but one of the more interesting stats that he brought up, I wrote it down because I knew it was a difference, but I kind of didn't know how big the difference was. So from weeks 1 to week 13 last season, the Texans run game, so they were 29th in man blocking scheme. I think they were 5th in outside zone, so that they were a heavy outside zone team. So some of their numbers, they were 27th in average yards before contact per attempt, so not good. They were 19th in yards per carry. Again, not great. They were 14th in explosive run rate, which, again, credit to Joe Mixon, because Joe Mixon did a lot of that.
Yeah. That was all him.
Especially early in the season, he did a really good job of, making something out of nothing on a lot of big plays. But then you had your bye week. So after Jacksonville, they went into the bye. Jarrett Patterson talked about it. Cole Popovich really stepped in at this point. He wanted the run game to switch, and he got what he wanted. So week 15 of the divisional round, they were 9th in man blocking scheme. So they ran a lot of duo, a lot of gap, a lot of stuff like that. So they were 11th in yards before or average yards before contact per carry. So that's good.
Very good.
That's your top 12. They were 6th in yards per carry. That's really good. And they were 8th in explosive run rate. Like, they ran the ball really well near the end of last season. They were a good running team. Which you couldn't say about them early in the season, and it goes to show, which Brett was talking about, of if they would have adjusted earlier, who knows what could have happened. If they could have adjusted the run game early on, who knows what could have happened there. And he did bring up a decent point about how he thought some of the reason that Slowick was more insistent on running the outside zone is because in play action, the statistics show that you protect much better off of outside zone play action. Like, the pressure rate goes. I think the average pressure rate on play action is like 39%, and then but on outside zone is 34%, and then on a more man blocking play action it's like 44%. So it goes up on man. If you run an outside zone, there's just a lot of open room out there. A lot of times you don't have the edge rusher. Depending on what happens. So that was a stat he kind of threw out there. So that he thought that was part of the reason, but. You can do both, but at some point, the run game has to be good. Like, that, you cannot be a terrible running team and expect it to win late in the season. And the run game really stepped up for them against the Chargers, against who else? The Titans week 18 game, like we talked about. Damian Pierce had a really good rushing game that week. They were really good against Kansas City in the divisional round as well. So that was something.
And you could tell the difference in scheme for sure.
You could, absolutely, you could. All right, and then if you wanted to go into, so let me see if I can. I don't know if I can. I'm not going to share my screen probably because I like the layout we have and I don't want to mess it up. But I can read off the stats for the Rams personnel, kind of some of their numbers of what Nick Caley kind of maybe wants to do in Houston. And I've seen some of this in camp as well. So just something to note. So they were 2nd in 11 personnel usage at 84 or 82.4. Here, let me see if I can share my screen.
You can definitely share your screen. I was looking at that too.
Let's see. Okay, let me try this out. Allow to share screen. Share entire screen. Okay. How does that look, Drew?
Looks good. That? Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right, so here we go. So these are some of the personnel numbers. So they were 2nd and 11 personnel, 82.4. And then they were 25th. The reason I put this here is more so because they ran 99 point whatever that is. I don't know the exact number. It's close to 99% of their plays in 11 and 12 personnel. They didn't run a lot of anything else. They were almost squarely in those two personnel-wise, which is pretty interesting, I thought that was kind of like, it was different from the Texans, which I don't have the Texans numbers on me. Currently, I have the infographic. I'd have to look
I
at it,
think
but
it
it's
would
different.
probably be a little bit more, maybe 20 or 30%.
Here.
Personnel.
Let me find that. Actually, let me
Um,
stop that real quick, and then let me find. I know I have it, so hold on. I'm gonna find that for
I mean,
us.
not really any like 21 personnel per se, just a little bit more two tight end sets.
Okay, I have it pulled up now. Let me get this. Okay. Let me go back and share my screen, and it should let me share it from here. I know it's a PDF file, but it should let me. Okay, let me see. I think y'all should be able to see that. All right. How does this look, Drew?
Yeah,
Can you
I can
see that?
see it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Got it. So let me go find it. Okay, so here are the Texans personnel rates. So they
Yeah, there you go. 12
62%
personnel.
and 11, so that's 15th, pretty much around average. They were really high in 12 personnel, which again we've talked about. Their tight ends weren't good, so there's no reason to be.
I was about to say that seems a bit crazy to me.
Yeah.
The Texans tight ends had injuries, especially after Brevin Jordan going down. I would have steered far and far away from doing it, and they forced Cade Stover into a role that maybe he can do now, but he certainly did not do well at all as a rookie.
And even if you want to look at 13 personnel, they ran 2.4, which is not a ton, but still 17th in the league for a team that doesn't even have one good tight end is pretty crazy. So just the refusal to switch off of, and so they ran a decent amount of screen as well. I can pull up the Rams one as well, so we can kind of look into that as well. But one of the takeaways from this, I don't know where Brits get their numbers from, but the pressure rate wasn't as bad on this side as it was in other ones. But these are some other things. They were under center, the sixth most. They were 24th in shotgun rate. They were 7th in motion and 11th at the snap. The Texans were. They ran 12th most play action, which the Rams were very high on that. I'll get to that in a second. But again, the running game sucked, especially early in the season. The running game was not good.
That's real bad.
That's really bad. These are some of the target areas as well. So it's kind of where they threw the ball a good amount. A lot of target in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let me go back to the Rams numbers now. Okay, let me get this. Okay. So the Rams were 4th in play action rate. They were 3rd in under center. So like I said, one of the things that I've noticed a lot from the Texans passing game was a lot of quick game, but a lot of play action under center as well. Drew, they did that on Monday when you were there as well.
Absolutely, they did. Yeah.
But that was a big part of that's been a big part of their passing game.
Yeah.
It's been the under center play action stuff. And another thing that I brought up was I didn't realize the Rams ran as much pistol as they did. I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't think the Texans ran pistol at all.
Barely. I mean, that you'd have to go back to the Bill O'Brien days where they would do that.
Which again, Nick Caley, right? Similar New England background, so it makes sense. But one of the things for me that we're going to get into with kind of the 53 is like, are they going to keep a fullback type, Jakob Johnson, it really is kind of a tight end. He kind of does both. This would favor him if they do some pistol work.
Yeah.
If they go into some more pistol, he's got a spot on the team, and I do believe he's going to make the team. I've talked about this in my spaces. I think
that was always the plan. I mean, they never really. I mean, obviously they have British Brooks, but like when you add a fullback like that, you just that's a starting fullback in the league. Keep him, and you can also maybe do stuff on special teams. So it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then So I want to say the Rams were like 20 something in motion, but they were 2nd at motion at the snap. They did a lot of motion at the snap. Which that's kind of been a McVay staple. And then this is the biggest thing. They were 1st in man concept runs. They were 1st in man concept runs in the shotgun, I want to say, and I think they were 1st in under center as well. Like they did a ton, which again, that's part of the reason why Sean McVay brought in Nick Caley. He's a New England guy. Like he had a huge part in the run game there, and so Cole Popovich, he brings in a similar. They both are going to do that. There's going to be a lot of man runs. I kind of talked about it here. The Texans are going to be a big under center team. They absolutely are. There's going to be a ton of 11, 12 personnel, which it just makes more sense with what the Texans have. Like
and I'll just say some things too. Like first of all, Stressens, you're right. Even when I was there on Monday, I saw Jakob Johnson line up at tight end. So that's something to note.
Yep.
It wouldn't be crazy for a team to have technically 4 tight ends, being Schultz, Brevin Jordan, Cade Stover, and then Jakob Johnson. So that's not like an unheard of thing. Before anyone says, well, why is Jakob Johnson on the roster? And he's fullback. That's great too. And then in terms of numbers, just to kind of bring everything together, I would like to say that McVay probably did not do as much gap runs, man run schemes before Nick
He
Caley
did.
was
He
on the
did
side
not.
in
Yep.
Los Angeles. When I think
Nope.
of McVay, I go back to Shanahan, which
Yep.
was wide zone. So to me, it feels like Caley is a big part of that adjustment.
He did. Yep.
And then, of course, you also saw a very high motion rate, which is fine, and that's the modern NFL thing. But it was also, that was second. That rate was second in the league. And
Yep.
then, yeah, I could absolutely see pistol being run a lot. It's just more about having everything in there. I mean, obviously, the players they said that the scheme wasn't anything crazy hard to learn, but still,
No.
you can add things throughout the season and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I
Yeah,
think
for
the
sure.
verbiage will be clear, and I don't think it'll be too complicated. I just kind of expect game plans to be built, but also the stats like that might look very similar. So
Yeah.
2025
Yeah. Yeah.
Texans numbers might look very similar to 2024 Rams numbers.
Yeah, and you want to look at the Rams on paper, and they really do have a pretty similar type roster to what the Texans have. Like just personnel wise, they're not
A
all
lot
that
of
different.
slots. That's what we talked about
Yeah,
last week. A
and
lot of
and
slots.
I think C.J. Stroud reminds me of Matthew Stafford, and to a certain extent, I think they're similar type of guys. I think Stafford probably has a better, a little bit more arm talent,
Yeah.
which I will give him credit. But
I
I do
mean,
think
he's one of the
CJ's arm
best of
talent's
all
a little
time.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the play styles are somewhat similar. I think there's a reason CJ likes him as much as he does. CJ kind of wants to play like Matthew Stafford, and I think there's a lot of things that Matthew Stafford does that maybe CJ can't do. But I think there's certain things we maybe moving around, especially now, that CJ can do that Stafford can't. So there's a certain amount of give and take there. I think at this point they're probably similar level quarterbacks, but I think Caley can get you that type of production from Stroud, and really, like you said, the receiver rooms are pretty similar, except one of them has Nico Collins. Like that is the biggest difference
Right.
here. Is Jaden Higgins is a guy that can win in the slot. Dude, Jaden Higgins reminds me a lot of like a bigger slot, which is something that the Rams like doing. He's not a Puka. He's not going to be a Puka Nakua, but a guy like that is a bigger guy, can do things in the insert run game. And Jalen Knowles, a guy that they've had similar guys to. I think he's almost a better version of like a Tutu Atwell, which is a guy that they have. He's definitely better than Tutu, but similar type of player to that. So they have guys like that for sure.
Yeah, I think that it's very similar, and I think that the strategy of having a lot of slot receivers is just the way to go. This was what we talked. I know we talked about last week. Yeah, that's what the Patriots did for years and years and years. And McVay carried that philosophy as well. I want to say because he had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods way back when. And it just kind of that's something that I will carry on forever. That you want versatility in your receivers, you really do, because then it
Oh
allows
yeah,
you to run multiple formations as well. So if everyone can win at the release point, if everyone's got some good athletic tools, he can play in the slot and he can do a lot of different things. And this is the way to go.
absolutely, yeah, and like you said, stressing. So I know we've kind of we were at a Tuesday's practice, so we were kind of talking about everything that we were seeing. But yeah, Jakob's been working a lot with tight ends. He is, I think he's mainly a fullback, but he can catch the ball, which is the biggest thing. But he is more of a hard nosed fullback than like
Of
a guy like
course,
Andrew
of
Beck that
course.
they had in the past. And he's been a New England guy for forever. Josh McDaniels loved him. So he's a guy that I think they always kind of planned on keeping, at least for the offense. And like I said, is he better than Eric Smith at tight end? Maybe not, but it's close enough to where if he can bring you the fullback type game too, it's worth keeping.
Yeah.
Kirk is underrated. He said Kirk is underrated in the physicality. I don't really know how Kirk is in the run blocking game. I'll be honest. I don't remember. I really watched a lot of his targets in Jacksonville, so I didn't.
But no, to go off of that, yeah, I think Kirk has a little bit of a reputation for that, and someone like Jakob as well. Like, once you're a good run blocker, okay, you establish that you have that mentality. You can now work on being a better pass catcher, a better route runner, something you may never even have really focused on in college or early on in the NFL. With such a defined career, if you're able to stick around, you can continue to add those things to a football team, add value as a football player. You will make 53-man rosters, and And hopefully Kirk can dig out some guys in the run game. I love doing that. I love run blocking. I did that myself, back in the day. Run blocking is fun, and Kirk seems like a good, tough, dependable player.
Yep. Yep, for sure. And Kirk's a guy that, like I said, he's had a really good camp. He's made a lot of plays in the past game as well.
And
And
Nico even said that he learns stuff from Christian Kirk as well. That's important.
yeah, Christian Kirk is having a really good camp. He's going to be a big player for this team. So those were kind of some of the schematic things that I wanted to get into. I know we've talked about this before, but I also just got all these numbers today, so I wanted to throw them at.
I'm glad you went over the numbers because it really kind of puts everything together in perspective, and it'll be fun to look back on it after the end of the season. Like, oh, hey, that looks really similar to the 2024 Rams numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And really, it's because the Rams have been trying to kind of resemble what New England did. Like the Rams have moved more towards that type of stuff, and maybe the pass game's a little bit different. But I think Caley's gonna experiment with all that stuff. Like I said, I think the foundation's a lot of New England, especially in the run game. But I think the pass concepts and the receivers that they have a lot of guys there, so they're definitely gonna do a lot of 11 personnel, kind of similar to what the Rams have.
Yeah, I think Nick Caley's on a great path to become like similar to Ben Johnson, where you establish a culture in Houston for 2 to 3 years. You may get a lot of head coaching interviews, even this year, even next year, but you're just gonna kind of stick around and really be like, okay, I did this whole coordinator thing. I have philosophy and I have creativity. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go on somewhere else.
Yeah, and another thing to throw out with the Rams is the Rams' offensive line isn't good either. Like, they haven't been good for 3 years, and they've gotten close to beating, like, a ton of these top teams. They really probably should have beaten Philly this year, who won the Super Bowl. Like, if that game wasn't in a monsoon, they probably win. Like, that's a big part of it, too. Or
yes.
I don't remember if it was raining. It was snow. It was a weather game for sure. So that was part of it. Yeah. The Lions, they were really close to the Lions, who probably should have made the Super Bowl, 2 years ago. So they've been right in this mix because they have a really good quarterback. They're coached well, and that's something that I think the Texans can do. Like I said, you can maneuver around offensive line play as long as the offensive line's not 32nd in the NFL, which I don't think the Texans' offensive line is going to be that. I think they've looked better than that in camp against a really top defense. So. Yeah, I mean that's something to keep an eye on. Here we can go.
What an incredible game the NFL has scheduled for week one.
I know it's gonna be a fun one.
I really wish I wasn't a fan. I'm not gonna lie.
If you swapped jersey colors and you made them the same color and you put the teams on offense, they might look like the exact same offense. Honestly,
both have terrifying defensive lines. It's
the pressure rates in those games are going to be high. Boy, they're going to be getting after some quarterbacks. So here's a good one from Stressens. By the way, I love the red and white for the background. It looks awesome. We've been messing with the designs. It looks good though. Jawar said that said with Big Sarge that Caley has had a mix of inside zone and outside zone. I still expect more gap, but think we'll be able to do both effectively based on the personnel and back. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Rams were not a team that went away completely from outside zone. They were still middle of the pack in it. They just weren't one of these top teams. And it's not like you want to be one-dimensional. So they've done outside zone too. Like I said, they've done well on the play action out of outside zone. They've hit that boot a lot to Stover. But to hit the outside zone boot, you have to run outside zone. So they're doing it at least somewhat. It's just less than the man concepts, obviously. And the Texans last, week 15 to divisional round, they still ran outside zone. It wasn't like they completely abandoned it. They just mixed in more man.
And frankly, that's when it actually started to look a lot better because when you're running more gap, then you can stretch, outside the hashes. And I think that's really Caley's philosophy is, okay, maybe we'll run it down your throat 40 times a game. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean running halfback dive with all the big boys on the field. It just means kind of doing it in different ways, and that could be because of weather, that could be because of matchups, but he's going to do what's best for the team.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point here with Kirk. He's reliable. They trust him. He's a smart receiver, which I think, like Jalen Noel, I think is going to be awesome, but there's definitely an adjustment period, and we saw it too with Jaden Higgins when he was playing in the slot and he was on kind of an option type route. CJ thought he was going to break to the middle of the field. If he did, it's probably a 50-yard gain, but he broke outside. But I think the biggest thing is, like we said, immediately CJ kind of calls him over, has a conversation with him, and Higgins looks like, okay, it's my bad, right? Like I should have broken that way, and that's the biggest part of it, isn't it? It's July. It's still July. There is a month and a half till the season starts, or a month at this point. And even then, when the season starts, the offense isn't going to be a finished product. We all know that.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing is just, okay, figuring out what you're good at, what you aren't good at, and that type of stuff. And then having these guys kind of adjust to roles, get the chemistry down with the quarterback. Because I can tell you right now, CJ Stroud's having a good camp. I don't know where this talk is coming from that, like, he's taking limited reps. I know I've seen that. Which, I do get it a little bit.
They were like, it was pretty like, okay, first team gets this many reps, second team gets this like the same amount, and the third team gets the same amount as well. Like, so I understand why people would say that.
Yeah, no, they have been doing that.
I didn't really feel like the first team got more reps than the other. But hey, I'm all for let's have the right third quarterback on the roster, or maybe we're even going to have to trade Davis Mills because whatever. Who knows what's going on there? I think it'll be fine because it's just so early. It's so early.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And I can tell you that on Wednesday, that was the most that we've seen the first team. They were out there a lot.
But, then the reps got.
I think it was a lot of situational stuff, and really, I think a lot of it is trying to figure out who offensive line wise you want to keep, who receiver wise you want to keep, because you don't know, you don't know exactly what guys you want to keep. Like I said, John Mechie started camp looking brutal, and all of a sudden you're watching him these last couple of days and it's like he looks legit, he looks good, like he looks smooth, he's catching the ball, he's making tough catches. So there's something there's something to be said, just like having the patience, letting these other guys kind of fill out the roster, because at the end of the day, I get CJ had a down year last year. You still know what CJ Stroud is. You know what he is as a quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. Same idea with Nico Collins. Like I said, they rotated receivers a ton throughout.
Yeah, even with the first team, I was like, okay, well, what we even said to each other, like, well, what are they going to do against Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter?
Justin Watson's lining up.
Poor guys, but
like, you're not going to complete a pass this rep. Like,
well, let's see if they can do it, and if you can do it, then you earn your roster spot. Because they probably right now do not know who the 5th, 6th, and maybe even 7th receiver is going to be, but they know they know 4 people that they're going to keep in the receiver room, but they don't know because like Justin Watson, if he becomes this reliable guy, he might make the roster over Mechie, who has not been reliable. If Xavier Hutchinson stops dropping the ball and actually wins at the top of his route, then he will make the roster as well because he's a young guy. Mechie, same thing. He's a young guy, and if he can actually start putting good days together, then you make the roster. And then you can talk about Braxton Berrios. Maybe we don't need him to be the punt returner, and because we want to keep these other guys and someone else can fill in. And it's just something for them to really look at.
Yep. And I mean, Stresson's, like I said, Stroud's been fine. He's looked good. I think Stroud's had a couple really nice days. I thought, with his legs, he did a really good job yesterday, but the past game was a little off. Like it just wasn't 100%. But I thought Monday, I thought he had a good day on Monday. I thought he had a good day on Tuesday. I thought he made some really nice throws, especially I want to say red zone. I don't know what day they did red zone. I think it was Monday or Tuesday.
Definitely did it Monday.
Okay, yeah. So that's how it went. So Monday, red zone was awesome. He looked really good in the red zone because we were there. And then the next day was when they were working out of their own goal line. So they went all the way back to the other side and worked in that. And he made a couple really awesome throws in that day. Like I said, the thing is that they just haven't gotten the deep ball going. They hadn't really tried it until yesterday. They hadn't tried to go deep at all. And honestly, yesterday it was a lot of the secondary is just locking people up, and that's to be expected. The secondary is going to be awesome, so I'm not disappointed by that. There's very tight windows for the ball into, and even some of them, I think there was one yesterday where I think people saw the clip, but it was CJ Gardner-Johnson was kind of trolling Dalton Schultz after making a PBU, but I'm watching, I'm like, that's a flag. He held the hell out of Dalton Schultz on the break, and that's why Schultz was mad about it, because he held the hell out of it. That's a flag 10 out of 10 times on that. But again, it's practice at the end of the day. I'm just saying that I think people are a little bit concerned because the deep ball hasn't been there, but they haven't really targeted Nico until yesterday. They hadn't tried to go deep very much.
Yeah.
And like I said, in a real game, you would think that Jaden Higgins' deep ball is there, and that works, because if there's not a miscommunication, that's a touchdown probably. But like I said, and they hit on the ball at the sideline yesterday.
I don't expect the Texans' explosive play rate to be something low. I expect that maybe
even last year it was high.
It could potentially be even higher because Noel is one of the fastest players the Texans have ever had on their roster since I was in diapers. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. Woody Marks as well, which we all really haven't seen much of Woody Marks and Damian Pierce, and that's whatever. Not my decision. And then you also have Jaden Higgins and Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. Like this offense could do a lot of different things at the end of the day.
For sure. I totally agree with that. All right, I think that's actually a good transition into some of the guys that we think, or I think, were kind of camp standouts. I know you have your guys that you talked about from Monday. I kind of have like a full list of guys from the whole thing that I can go to.
Now, can we consider Jalen Reed one now? I think he's had multiple good days.
Yep. I think he's considered a guy that I think has had a good camp so far. He's really been playing deep safety. He's kind of a guy that could move around a little bit, but he's mainly been at deep safety. He's had a good camp. Some other guys that I think have had good camps. I thought, Kalen Bullock, we've talked about him. He's had an awesome camp. He's been all over the place. He's taken really good angles, which I think was his biggest weakness last year, was taking some poor angles.
For sure.
He's looked to clean that up a little bit. Will Anderson, this one's obvious. Will Anderson has been dominant. Like he's been a camp standout, even though nobody's surprised by that. I almost don't include him on list because why include Will Anderson on list? What are some others? So some other guys. John Metch the last 3 days has had a good camp. Like that is something that I think people, almost everyone that was there, would agree on. He's looked good. He's had good days. Who else has had good days? I think Ariante Harrisry is a winner of camp so far. Jake Andrews was another guy that I would put in that list.
These are two guys that were definitely not, at least by people who write the articles, not projected starters. Potentially, highly likely that they will start.
Yep. They almost for sure will at this point. Well, not Andrews. Andrews.
Not Andrews. We'll see.
I made the full list. Let me go check that again.
Yes,
Jawar Jordan. I almost blanked on Jawar Jordan. He is absolutely standout. He has looked excellent. One that I haven't seen most people talk about is Miles Bryant. I think Miles Bryant's had a really strong camp. He's looked really, really good, filling in for Petrie on some days and then being the backup nickel. He's pretty clearly like the second best nickel corner on this roster. Although when I was watching Brett's video today, I thought it was funny because he got to undrafted guys and he started raving about Elisha Huzzy. So watch if he gets healthy.
Oh my God!
He gets healthy.
Oh my God!
Healthy, watch out, boys.
They don't even need him, but
no, they don't. Dalton Schultz, funny enough, has been probably a standout of camp. He's looked pretty good in the receiving game. He's made plays pretty much every day, so I got to give him his credit. Dalton Schultz has looked pretty good as well. Kate Stover has looked pretty good as well. Two edge rushers that are kind of on the second stream that are fighting for spots. Darrell Taylor and Solomon Byrd. Dylan Horton you could throw in this list too. They've all looked pretty good. They have a shot now because Derek Barnett's been on PUP. So, there's a shot that, these guys could get cut potentially. So, I think they will end up keeping Derek Barnett, but they could play them. If Solomon Byrd goes out there,
they better keep Derek Barnett.
if Solomon Byrd goes out there in the first preseason game and have 3 sacks, I'm like, okay, Derek Barnett, you better get healthy because we're looking at something there. But those are some guys that have looked good. If you want to look at another running back, I think JJ Taylor's looked pretty solid as well. Woody Marks in the past games look good. Like when they throw it out to him, he looks pretty dynamic. Brett's video compared him to James White, which I thought was a pretty decent comparison.
That's good, but I think he's fat. I think Marks is like a lot faster.
Yeah. He did say that he thinks he's a little bit more dynamic in the run game, but similar in the pass game of being pretty dynamic. So I thought that was a pretty decent comparison, especially because you think of New England guys. That's a guy that could be kind of your spell back.
New England guys, Miles Bryant is how Belichick kind of had his guys. I think that Miles Bryant has become a Nick Caserio guy. I think he's just kind of like the dependable slot cornerback.
He started as a Bill Belichick guy,
right? Exactly. And Caserio literally knows him from New England, from Belichick, so I think that he's kind of becoming one of those guys. Hey, it's cool to see like a general manager develop and kind of really have a good scope on things. I think that the depth is starting to just be so clear that it's there.
Yep, and there's a couple guys that we can go into camp. I'm gonna type this out so we can get this. Camp stock fallers. Let's say it like that. So whose stock is down from camp so far? There's one that is blatantly obvious. And
Like
there's a couple
Fisher.
Blake Fisher is blatantly obvious. Even though, like I said, I think he's been better lately. The stock's down. At the end of the day, the stock is crashing because, I mean, he can't. He hasn't been.
Yeah.
I mean, almost everyone thought he'd be the starting right tackle, and he's not even in competition going into August. Like that's rough for him. That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
But there's still time to turn it around. I'm not completely out on Blake Fisher. I just his stock is definitely down. Some other guys' that stock is down. I think just by almost association with the running back room, I would say Dare's stock is down because Woody looks like a great special teamer. And if you want to keep Nick Chubb, he's only really going to be good in the pass protection game. So I don't know where Dare's impact.
I was so upset on Monday when they put Dare in on that situation. I was like, get him out. Like you don't need him. There's no reason for him to be in right now. You're right. Nick Chubb is a pass protector. Woody Marks is an explosive playmaker. Dameon Pierce learned how to pass block last season and can do stuff after the catch. Get him out. I'm sick of Dare Ogunbowale unless he is an emergency kicker or special teamer.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to keep him on practice squad, do it. I'm cool with that. But I don't want to keep him on 53 anymore. I think I'm good with that.
So done with him being on.
Unless you decide to cut Nick Chubb. If you cut Nick Chubb, then I could see the argument for it.
Fine. That's fine. Yeah.
And I'd be fine with that. I'm not really like I think they're pretty close at this point, to be honest with you, from what I've seen from Chubb. So, but I don't think they're going to cut Chubb. Even though he could be a surprise guy. I've kind of said that for a little bit, but I think Dare is probably on the way out. Just looking at it,
it's a trust factor. You have enough trust in Chubb on the goal line, and you have enough trust in Chubb as a pass protector, as where maybe you don't trust Pierce in goal line situations. Maybe not even Mixon, because sometimes Mixon has a little bit of tunnel vision. I don't really know how to even explain it. He's like 30, he's about to touch 30, and he still has moments of indecision or over-aggression as a runner. But he's a special runner. I think Mixon is a special runner, but Nick Chubb is definitely a reliable goal line back.
Yeah. I was actually – this play was basically right next to my seat, and I saw Dare turn inside when Petrie was coming in, so I don't know what the hell he was doing. But I agree. I don't think Dare is a very good pass protector either. I don't know why they think he is this great pass protector. He's never really been this great third down back.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I
think he's looking on the way out. Another guy, D'Angelo Ross stock is probably down from earlier, just because I think there's a lot of guys that have looked like good special teamers, and I think if you're looking at the nickel spot, he's pretty clearly like behind Miles Bryant for that spot. So I would say his stock's probably down. Christian Harris stock is down. I mean, there's no way we can look around this. His stock is down. I mean, I don't know how else we can look at Christian Harris at this point.
Yeah.
What's funny is I almost think Dameon Pierce stock is up from where it was, a week and a half ago, because I think he would be clearly the best running back on the field if he could get healthy. I think that's the thing. If he can just get off PUP and get out there.
Yeah, if Joe Mixon isn't going to play week one, if you were to cut Pierce over Dare Ogunbowale, I would lose my mind.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Need a running back, not a. I don't know what to call Dare Ogunbowale at this point.
Yep, I think Dare will probably not make this team if I had to guess right now. Who else's stock has fallen from early days of camp?
I was gonna say Jimmy Ward, just because I feel like do you need him? I don't know how much salary cap they would save if they would cut him.
Yeah.
You have your safeties. I think Jalen Reed will do just fine.
Yeah. They don't need Jimmy Ward really.
No.
So yeah, his stock's probably down as well. That's a good call. What are some other stock down guys? I mean, Jarrett Patterson, I don't think his stock is necessarily down. I just think it's kind of neutral, where Andrews is trending up. So I wouldn't give him stock down. I don't think. I don't think he's been bad.
We've seen a rotational defensive line, so nothing really there.
Who are some other guys? I'm trying to think. Who are some? You could say. I don't want to say EJ Speed's stock is down. I've just been surprised to not see him in like the third linebacker role in a 4-3 sometimes. But I think it's still just early. I think he'll end up playing into that role if Christian Harris isn't there. Doesn't make sense to cut Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know the
it,
numbers on that, and I don't know what's gonna. It seems like he will be cleared of his situation.
Yeah.
They could cut MJ Stewart and have Jalen Reed be a third.
Russ Yeast.
Yeah.
Russ Yeast is making an appearance. He's actually funny enough. He's actually had a good couple last days. Funny enough, he's actually looked pretty solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, MJ Stewart's a potential option. Like I think most of the stock is down for guys that specifically make their living off special teams because there's a lot of good special teamers on this team now that it can play into that role. So I would say that's probably the biggest one. And then, I mean, is there any stock in like Keaton Slovis because he's clearly the fourth quarterback?
Yeah, I guess the stock is down.
Stock there.
Yeah, we saw
you're losing.
We saw Mertz had some good throws, quick decisions. In 7-on-7, so I think Graham Mertz.
Yeah, Mertz
is your third string quarterback.
Yeah. Neiman's stock is up. Good pull, Stressens. He's actually looked like someone. He's actually looked like a potential guy that could play at least some snaps.
I think that they don't really have a strong linebacker other than they just have like athletic linebackers and they have the Neiman. So I think that provides value as your third linebacker in that Sam role.
Yes, Preston's had a good one here. Draymond Smith's stock is definitely up. Yeah, he's had good reps at corner.
Well, so how is the cornerback room going to shake out then? Because
so
you just think Arnett's going to get cut or traded.
Arnett's not making it. Yeah, Arnett's not making it. He might be a practice squad guy. He's not making the 53.
Right.
The depth 53 guys are pretty clearly going to be Jalen Smith and Tremont Smith. Like Tremont Smith is a better corner, like just a straight corner than Arnett, in my opinion, from what I've seen. Okay. And he's also a better special teamer. So
exactly, special teams will
be here. But Arnett could be. I think Arnett's shown good things on special teams, and I don't think he's like the worst corner in the world. So he could make a practice squad, or maybe some other team signs him or something. But Tremont's better. I agree with that. What are some other guys? Like I said, secondary wise, there's definitely been some other guys shooting up too. Like if anyone has stock in Arthur Millette, his stock's probably down as well.
For sure. Like you said, if Tremont Smith is holding up just fine as a backup boundary corner, it's fairly easily just going to be him and Jalen Smith.
Yeah, that's who it's going to be.
They're absolutely
that's who it's going to be, I think, for sure. Which I think is better depth than the Texans have had at corner in a long time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some other.
He was going off 3 years ago for us at corner. Tremont Smith. That was impressive. That was very impressive.
Yeah, he's not the worst corner for sure. Millette seems nice. Yeah, he didn't seem like a horrible player. He's just kind of loaded behind a big room, and I don't think he's as good as Miles Bryant. So it's kind of tough. And then if Jimmy Ward, if he's going to make the roster, then he's a potential backup nickel too. So it just doesn't make sense to keep him really, unless he goes out there in preseason and looks amazing. So you never know. It's still early. Okay, final thing we're going to talk about, some 53-man roster sleepers. We've already talked about a couple, but there's some other guys as well I want to bring up. So first one, I think Jakob Johnson is pretty obviously a sleeper to make the team. I think a lot of people are kind of looking at him on the outside, and I think he's pretty clearly on the inside to make the roster at this point. A couple other guys you could go. John Mechie at this point is probably a sleeper because I think a lot of people are kind of counting him out, and I think he could be a guy that makes it. Interior D-line, actually, there's some sleepers there now. Because I don't think Keontae was going to make it either way. But, I know you're a Junior Tafuna guy who potentially could be a Kurt Hinish replacement. So there's an option there.
I think it's just, it's going to be 5 guys.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, they like toe guys.
3, at least. Folu's probably makes it 4.
Honestly, I don't think there's even a real chance for Tafuna to make it unless he starts to play better than Toe Guy, which
that's true. Toe Guy's had a pretty good camp too, so I always seem to forget he's on the roster because he's like a week 14 signing, but he actually played pretty well for them. So
he was taking like snaps from other guys at the end of the year. Yeah. So if he's still playing well,
he actually had a sack against Mahomes. So there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the interior line depth, there's a lot of guys there. Would I don't think Togiai would be a sleeper to make the roster at this point. I guess
Yeah, it's not even
the
a
only
sleeper,
way
like-
you could think of a sleeper is if you think Autry's like an interior guy, then they would keep him over Tommy, maybe. Because
I think you're gonna keep Autry regardless.
okay, you probably put him as
Financially.
like in the edge group maybe. Because I'm thinking like 5 interior guys: Rankin, Settle, Edwards, Folu, Togi. Right? That's probably your
Yeah.
5 there. Then you put him under the edge group. That makes sense.
But
I
they kept Hinish with that group last year, technically, right?
think he started on IR. No.
Oh,
I
he
think
did.
yeah.
He did.
So and they kept Khalil Davis because Togiai wasn't there,
Okay.
so Khalil Davis was the 5th guy,
Khalil Davis.
who's retired now. Unfortunately, that was
So
my guy.
sad. I don't even know. I don't know what that'll happen.
But okay, some other sleeper guys that could make this roster. If you want to look at running back, Jawar, I think is on.
Yeah,
on
that's
the,
probably the
on
number one.
cusp.
If he's really popping off these long runs,
Yeah.
I think you got to keep him and just say fuck it. We're gonna rotate the running backs.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's what you're looking at for him. Quarterback, like, is Mertz a sleeper? I don't think they're going to keep a 3rd guy, but maybe. Barrios, yeah, Barrios was the guy I was going to get to. Barrios is a sleeper.
I just don't see it right now. I don't. If you think about all the receivers making plays that we've heard of, it's Watson, Mechie, and Hutchinson, and that's 7 right there, with the other 4 guys. I just don't know. I with the new kick return rules, it actually goes more towards a Woody Marks and a Damian Pierce, and a Jalen Noel as well. I don't know. It's tough.
I would
really
like
tough.
to see because from my point of view, I don't think Jalen Knoll is going to play a ton on offense at the start. So I would just let him be the kick returner.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Or that would be my take. I'm not the biggest fan of keeping a returner unless it's like unless it's a guy that's like a total speedster, like gonna just be a dynamic guy. I almost think Damian Pierce would be the best kick returner on this team still.
Exactly.
So I would, but I do think Barrios is a sleeper because I think they like him. So it's a good sleeper in the sense of like he definitely could make it. I just wouldn't pick him to make my roster.
Exactly. That's the thing. Stresson's like me and Jacob, we have a little bit different philosophy from what the Texans have done in the past. Like, we wanted the long snapper to be Jamal Hill. So I'm big on value. If you can do multiple things, you can make the roster. And I think they're better than the other players. So for me, Barrios just does not add enough value. It's really as simple as that. Not enough value and not enough upside. But hey, the Texans don't care about upside. They might not care about upside at all. And you might see Solomon Bird get cut as well, just because they do not care about upside. They care about reliability. Right, reliability is what they might care about more. So you're
the biggest concern with Pierce is like getting hurt, right? Like he's been a good kick returner, but then he always seems to get hurt all the time. So he definitely has been number 1 in kick return. So he's like I said, he definitely is a sleeper. Like I wouldn't be mad if he made the roster. It wouldn't be one of those moves where I'm like, oh, this is stupid. Like why would they do that? Like I would be mad if Dare made the roster at this point.
I would be mad, but they might do it. They might do it.
If Barrios made the roster, I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, I get why they did it. It just wouldn't be my pick per se.
Exactly. No way.
Some other sleepers you could go, or some other guys that are standing out. I mean, Justin Watson's not really a guy that I think is a shocker to most people. Jared Wayne was looking like a guy that could do that, and then he got hurt, so that sucks.
Practice squad again.
Yeah, he'll be a practice squatter, I think. Xavier Johnson's made some plays. He's not making the roster, but a potential practice squatter as well. What are
it could be? Guys? It could be Irv Smith over Brevin Jordan for all we know.
I highly doubt it. I haven't seen Irv in with the first team at all, so I doubt it. But I do like Irv though, so I think Irv.
We know he's a solid, adequate NFL player.
Yeah. No, and I wouldn't be mad if they kept Irv.
Right.
Over a guy like over Jakob or something, but I think Jakob ends up making it. What are some other names that could be potential guys? British Brooks maybe for the running back room if you're looking at another fullback type guy. I doubt it, but he's a guy that's
Highly
kind
doubt
of
it.
yeah. He looks better than Nick Chubb running the football though, uh, which isn't
Yeah,
saying a lot. But
not
retire.
saying much. No.
Yeah, Barrios not. Yeah, I mean he is reliable, but I feel like maybe this is maybe you feel differently. I feel like when you bring up Robert Woods, that's what I'm saying. I think you could almost just ask like a guy to
Oh
get good
shit, yeah,
catches.
Daniel Jackson.
Yeah,
And that's who I should have said for the standouts because when I was there, he had at least
yeah, he
3
had a good day.
catches.
Yeah,
That's
he
who I
did.
was thinking of.
I don't
Couldn't
see any
remember.
way he makes his way on the
I know,
53 to be
right?
honest. But I would love to keep him on practice squad. I think he's a good player.
It would take like a preseason, like 2 preseason games of Mechie and Hutchinson drops again, like they're dropping the ball again,
Well,
and then Daniel Jackson, who is an insane catch maker, he was in Minnesota. If he does that, and you're looking side by side from preseason tape, you're like, okay, well, we're going to keep Daniel Jackson because Mechie and Hutchinson are doing the same thing. So then you keep Daniel Jackson.
And but also when you say it like that, when you talk about Hutchinson, Mechie dropping the football, maybe it is possible because that I wouldn't be shocked if that happens.
Right, preseason, you got to put on a show, and you just start dropping it again. The same thing comes out. Yeah.
Yep. And if you go defensive, like I said, Russ Deese has had a pretty good go of things. Not that he's going to make the 53, but he's had some good days. Draymond, like I said, Draymond's stock is up. Not really a sleeper though. I think most people had him kind of as a guy that was going to make it. If you want to look at some of the edge rusher depth, like I said, Solomon Bird, Dylan Horton are guys that maybe you didn't have penciled in on your 53.
Yeah, I think Dylan Horton would be the biggest sleeper here.
Yeah. Some linebacker, maybe. I think, like you said, Nick Neiman is a potential. Well, I think he was always kind of going to make it, but maybe people just didn't really know who he was. Jamal Hill maybe could find a way out on the team. He's been a good special teamer for them. I suspect Mechie struggles with the mental side. Yeah, I think so too. But like I said, I think he's had a good camp, so I'm cautiously optimistic that he can find a way to make the team.
If I saw enough potential or solid play from like a Jackson Woodard or Jamal Hill, I would probably put them on the roster, but I'm not there. I'm not in the building. I have no idea if they've developed as a football player. But I like the physical tools that they have. And I think Jackson Woodard is already a very smart football player and a really quality run stopper. Something that they didn't necessarily have, maybe a stronger inside linebacker. They might be looking for that type. They have potentially one in Neiman and Woodard. They probably don't really need that. Just something to think about because they're going to go 4-2-5 a lot.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely will. I mean that's their base at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And actually, so this is something just schematic wise that I wanted to point out. Brett brought it up and it was a good point. I would expect the Texans go a little bit more into their press man on defense this season. So just
I was thinking that as well.
Because he brought up a point. I want to say he said that they had more PBUs, INTs, and I think in press coverage than first downs allowed. Like they were incredible in press last year. I think their passer rating allowed in press last year was like 15 something. So there was, and their secondary only got better. So at the end of the day, that's the best unit on the football team. Like I get the pass rushers, they're good. The best unit is the secondary. So
I mean,
keep an eye on that.
It's debatable. A little bit.
It is. But I guess I think it only is debatable if you consider defensive ends by themselves. Because if you include the interior guys are good. But the secondary is a whole nother level if you consider like the safeties and the safety depth. Like the edge rushers don't have a backup like Jimmy Ward, I don't think. And multiple
That's
guys
true.
like Jimmy Smith is a depth guy. They're so deep at so many positions, and Stingley's the best guy on the defense at least for sure. So in my opinion. Although Will Anderson's up there.
Like I said, it's
so close. I don't know.
You're making it seem like it's not close, but it is.
No, it is
really close.
I just think the secondary is the best unit, but it is close. You if you wanted to say it's defensive line, I wouldn't be mad at it for sure.
I mean, sure. Once Kalen Bullock actually proves to be a star in the league, it's the best secondary in the league. Stingley, Lassiter, Bullock, Gardner Johnson, who I don't really know too much about, honestly. I know he has a high Madden rating. He was like 86 overall. He had 6 interceptions last year, but I know he likes to talk a lot on social media. But I don't know if CJ Garner-Johnson is actually actually a well above average NFL safety? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. And we'll
He
see.
always
But
starts everywhere he goes. He starts and he produces.
and CJ was really good for them last year. He's great. He's always graded out really well. Um, and he's
Yeah.
been a guy. He's always been a good ball hawk. Like last year, he was top 5 in ball hawk rate for safeties. He's going to be good. It's just whether he's just good or if he's a Pro Bowl level guy or an All Pro type of guy,
Yeah.
which he could be. He absolutely could be, but we don't know. He's at least going to be a good starter for this team. I'm pretty confident on that. So, anything else you want to add, Drew? I think we covered this pretty well. We had 800 something viewers, so
Let's go. There we go.
Pretty big one as well.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, I agree with what Stressen said there last. I think, Woodard and Asai, if they can keep them on the practice squad and really start to develop these linebackers, and like I was saying earlier, if you can develop these younger offensive linemen, it just makes life so much easier to not have to continuously try to hit on your draft picks, be able to trade draft picks away, be able to trade up in the draft. Like that helps out a lot more. The Texans are never actually going to use 7 picks in the first 150 picks. They don't really want to do that.
No.
So that's why these training camp practices are so important. They finally have depth, a good talent pool on this team, along with having multiple superstars and bona fide starters and all that good stuff. So I'm actually more excited for preseason than I've been in a while because
I'm
these
super
other
excited
guys.
too.
We knew the last 2 years we weren't going to see our best players, our starters that we knew were good play. But this year we have a lot of depth, and so that's interesting.
All right, last thing before we go, we kind of talked about. We kind of hit on this earlier, and I know I've seen the same reports. CJ's been just fine. He's looked good. He's looked good in camp. And in the shoulder thing, I will tell you, almost the thing that has been most impressive to me, just eye test wise, is the zip he's had on the short and intermediate stuff. Like on Tuesday, he threw the ball. And Petrie lit up Higgins. I'm sure y'all seen that play, but the zip on that ball was impressive, man. He threw it on a line. His shoulder is fine. He is just fine. They just haven't really. The reps have just been limited, like we said. Like they've just wanted to see all 3 groups because and part of it, like you just said, is because they have so much depth at so many positions. They need to find who's going to make this roster, and especially offensively when it's a new offense, who's going to know the offense, who's going to learn the offense. So. That's definitely part of it. CJ's been just fine. He's looked good in camp.
I thought they were trolling on those posts.
It started with Clint Sterner. He was serious about it.
He was very serious.
Yeah, and then Paul Gallant and others were like trolling about it. But no, Clint was serious about it, which I don't know.
Yeah, Stressens. That's exactly what I'm hoping. You want to look back in 2 or 3 years and say, they did it. They developed a player that was drafted very, very late, and now he's a starter. Hopefully we're able to do that in a couple of years.
Yep. And we've seen a couple of these guys. Jarrett Patterson's been a guy that they developed pretty well. Yeah. Brevin's a guy that they developed.
Jordan, great development player. Yeah.
Roy Lopez, we've talked about it. He ain't on the roster anymore, but he's been developed. He's a damn good player for a 7th rounder. Right. So they have hit on these later picks. And just kind of the last thing, obviously, I don't want to look over this season, but if you want to look into next offseason when they have those draft picks, I don't know of a team that do you think can be a contender this season that has as many picks and versatility as the Texans do. Like they're in a very good spot because, like I said, if the offensive line, it doesn't have to be great because they're probably going to look to replace the left side of the line next year or move Ariante to left tackle next offseason. So you're probably looking at looking to spend on the offensive line again. But as long as you found some foundational pieces, like let's say Jake Andrews looks really good and Ariante Ursary has a good rookie year, then you're looking at it like we got pieces on the line. We have stuff to build around. And then we have 6 pieces. We have 6 picks at least at the top to spend on guys that we don't really have that many needs. We don't have that many spots where we have to get a player at linebacker. We have to get a player at defensive tackle. There's not spots like that that you're going to see anymore. And so they've put themselves in a really good spot because money-wise, there's not many guys hitting the market next offseason, I don't think, for this team.
I
There's,
don't think so.
Actually, let me pull that up because now I'm curious.
I don't know again, I don't know much about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
I'm pretty sure he's still under contract from what I remember.
So-
But obviously, you're going to have to extend CJ and Anderson, but it's not going to kick in yet, so it's not like that's a huge deal. Christian Kirk's a free agent, it looks like, so that's probably your big one. But you would think that Jalen Noel just replaces him. You wouldn't think, or he comes back cheap. So some of the potential free agents are Christian Kirk, Cam Robinson, if you want to bring him back. Jimmy Ward's a free agent. He's probably gone. Danico, potential free agent. Like I said, he might get cut, so he might not even be as an option here. Probably the biggest name on here, in my opinion, is Tim Settle. That's probably the biggest guy.
I was going to say Cam Robinson because as a left tackle, a talented player like him, he has a solid year. He's also going to demand over $20 million, and he also has probably at least 6-7 years left in his career. So this is a big contract year for him.
Yeah, so like some of the defensive tackles are up, like we talked about. Folu, he's going to be a free agent. Some of these guys, Tommy Townsend is going to be a free agent. Brevin will be a free agent. So, there's some guys, but really, as a whole, Lakin will be a free agent. There's just not a whole lot of guys that you're really like, oh, we have to bring this guy back, or that would be all that pricey. That's the biggest thing. Cam Robinson's the one guy that has the upside to get expensive.
Could be super pricey. Yeah.
But the rest of these guys, like I said, Tim Settle, he'll cost you more than $3 million, which is what he's on right now. But he's not going to cost you $10 or $15 million. It's just like
I don't think they're going to play. Like they don't play enough. They're not going to get 10 sacks in 50.
But you could probably bring Tim Settle back on a 2-year, $12 million, $13 million deal, depending on how he plays, and I would be all over that. So, really the free agent class that you have next year is really not going to be crazy because, like I said, Christian Kirk's the guy that if you want to bring him back, he probably wouldn't cost that much. Like it wouldn't be like a break in the bank type thing for him either. And
I don't think because of his age, I don't think his stock is able to skyrocket. It's just
I don't think so. The worst case, what you could look at is I know it'd be expensive, but you could almost like tag someone if you want, use something like that on a guy.
You could franchise tag Cam Robinson.
If he has a good year, you could. But I mean, like outside of that, Sheldon Rankins will be a free agent. He's 32. He's not a good run defender. He probably isn't back next season if I had to guess. But then you're looking at probably drafting a defensive tackle at some point. So,
which they've been waiting to do.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But Kirk and Robinson are probably pretty easily the two biggest names. But like I said, if you lose both of those guys, it's not like you're looking at hell breaking loose. Like I said, Jalen Noel is a pretty 1-to-1 replacement for Christian Kirk if you don't want to bring him back. So that'd be pretty fine with me. Yeah. By the way, I'm on Spot Track or whatever it's called, and Derek Barnett's got like double the market value of what his contract is. So that's your guy, man. They have his market value at like 7.1, and he's on 4. So.
I would agree with that market value.
Yeah. Here we go. We got one more question. The guard from Michigan, has he been playing?
Ladarius Henderson.
He's on third team. He's third team right tackle or right guard right now. That's it. He's not doing anything else. I don't see it. I think you're right. I think the draft picks are. I don't see Christian Harris on here though. I could be. Oh, he's at the bottom. Yeah, Christian Harris. I mean, are any of those guys really?
I don't know, man. I mean, we know Christian Harris has a lot of talent, but just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that any of those guys are like big free agents. So I'm kind of like about those. Like you said, even they might not be a tricky spot. They might not even be on roster. So
right,
exactly. Guys.
If they're on roster,
might be the one guy right now that I think he'll probably be back. I feel like if they give him a certain amount of carries, just because I think they like him as a special teamer, and I think DP is solid. You think all three aren't on roster? I mean, it's possible. Honestly, it's pretty possible. I would bet on Pierce making it right now. But the other two, I don't know. I'm still leaning on Harris making it, but it's getting dicey, man. It's getting like to the point where I'm like 50-50 on it. So I don't know. But yeah, those are some other guys. But like I said, all your core guys are locked up. So at the end of the day, you should have at least a little bit of money to spend. You probably can maneuver it around. And then you're going to have a ton of draft picks to use on positions that you don't have a ton to fill. It's going to be a similar roster to what you had this year. with some new younger guys, and maybe Cam Robinson back or someone like that. So
Mhm.
ideally, Blake Fisher steps up, and then you don't have to pay.
Yeah,
Cam
that's the
Robinson,
biggest
but,
bummer of all this. Like that was a second round pick. Yeah, it
Yeah.
hasn't performed.
Yeah, I'm still holding out hope. I'm not completely out on him, but yeah.
MFK baby, MFK.
All right. Well,
All right.
we appreciate everyone for tuning in. We're gonna finish with like around 900, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It looks like all the viewers are from my ex, so thanks everyone for coming from
Yeah.
the YouTube,
most-
really showing up. No, but we appreciate all the support. We were talking about it before, but the weekly episodes are starting to come back with the season coming around. We're gonna do a preseason preview next week. We're gonna look at some guys, maybe to watch. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about Minnesota. I'm pretty sure that's the opponent. I think it's Minnesota, from what I remember. So maybe some JJ McCarthy, talk, something like that.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that a little bit. We appreciate all the support. Like I said, Stressens, we appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
I had a good time catching up with you on Tuesday. We'll have to catch up sometime again, Stressens. But yeah, man, we like I said, we appreciate all the support. We're gonna be back here doing a lot more content and getting this out because we really enjoy doing the content. And if you're new to this to the Texans probe, definitely follow the. Let me pull up that graphic. Definitely go subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on X, Drew Scouts and Texans Jacob, and then go follow the Texans probe as well on X. We have our own account on there. Don't really use it. I need to use it a little bit more.
I guess we probably should.
Yeah,
we'll work on that.
Yeah. Well, we're getting back into the. But yeah, we appreciate all the support.